Produced by the Cleveland Sound Radio Network. Here is the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show, hosted by Glenn Moore and Steve Guy.
Snowy day here in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Glenn Moore, joined here by Steve Guy in studio, recording this on a Monday afternoon, a day early, as we will delve into our topic for the week. But before we get into that, we're going to talk some current news going down. And like I said, Steve, we are recording this on a Monday.
A snowy Monday.
So we will not know doesn't know what's going to happen.
We don't know
on
what
Raw
happened
tonight
on
yet.
Raw. Yeah.
So when this is posted, hopefully this afternoon, Monday afternoon or Monday evening, we will not be recapping what happened on Raw. So if something big happens this week,
don't crap all over us. Why don't you talk about it?
We will, if something big happens, like a certain superstar retires, maybe we'll come back, maybe there this week, or do something later on and talk about it. But if it's just another boring Raw, we will talk to you guys next week when it comes to recapping what is going on with WWE. So our topic this afternoon, and we kind of hinted towards it last week until...
But for real this time.
Yeah, because Steve and I went on a debate, a tirade towards each other about the current state of pushing and not pushing superstars, which got some reaction on Twitter from some loyal listeners.
Yeah, I got all sorts of texts and everything. People enjoyed it.
So we're going to talk about a topic that we don't agree upon, so this one could get heated as well. Lucha Underground. We're going to be talking about that for the second portion of the show. But before that, before we get into Lucha Underground and why I hate it and why Steve loves it, we're going to be talking about some major news topics going on right now as of Monday afternoon, and that starts with Daniel Bryan. There was a picture on the internet of Daniel Bryan at the airport making his way from Phoenix to Seattle, which is the location for Raw tonight, sporting a new haircut, not completely buzzed, but short enough where it's noticeable from his previous haircut, and a trim of the beard, so not looking like the monster homeless guy that we usually see on Monday Night Raw. He's all cleaned up, and the person that took the photo was a fan, obviously knew who he was. Other than that, that has led to speculation. Is D-Bry going to be on Monday Night Raw? I think they are actually saying that he's going to be on Raw.
Yeah, there are definitely reports / rumors, whatever you want to call them, that he is to appear on Monday Night Raw, especially because it's in Seattle. I mean, Vince is no dummy, right? I think either way, he wants him on Monday Night Raw because it's his home state.
Yeah, so it's like I said, it's led to a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors if D-Bry will be on Raw tonight. Now, we've been talking about D-Bry for a while, ever since his injury has put him out of action. Geez, how long has it been since we've seen Daniel Bryan? It was
WrestleMania.
Yeah, was that the last time?
Right, he may have defended the IC title once after that, but he won it at WrestleMania in the ladder match. And it was shortly thereafter he ended up surrendering it again.
Yeah. And he was on TV for when they had the finals and they showed the actual match. So he was on TV.
And he was part of Tough Enough, or not Tough Enough. Yeah, Tough Enough this year.
Yeah, so he was on WB programming, but just not making any in-ring appearances, competing. So this has led to a lot of speculation over the past few months. News sites reporting that WWE will not let him compete in the ring. They do not want to have another Draws incident happen. They don't want to have a guy like back when Edge retired. He wrestled with a bad neck until they found out that it was very serious.
And he had to retire the very next day.
It was crazy. And then, so with D-Bry, they don't want to have basically a lawsuit. They are really big into concussion protocols with their injured guys not being able to compete until they're fully healed. It's not the gladiator kind of mentality like it once was, maybe in the 80s and 90s, where, hey, you go out there until basically it kills you. But now with all the advancements in medicine and whatnot, WWE does not want to have this kind of bad PR.
Is this I guess best for business is probably one way you can phrase it. Is going down this road, not necessarily specifically with Daniel Bryan, though he's we use, but with superstars in general. It's different than team sports, and every ownership is responsible for individuals within their team.
Right.
They oversee all these teams, and then there's the league, and the league says, hey, with these policies, teams should go by it. WWE, you almost look at the superstars more as independent contractors, right?
Yeah.
So, should they allow the decisions to be up to the superstars? From everything I've seen, the doctors apparently are split on Daniel Bryan. So the doctors are split. Should that decision be up to Daniel Bryan, or do you think should it be up to the company? Because they could easily, I would think, have him sign something that says, "Look, we are not liable then if you hurt yourself," right?
Yeah, but come on, people, news and dirt sheets and even the fans, if something happens.
And I think that's where it being better for business comes into play.
Right. They don't want to have that on their hands, even though all the legal stuff, behind the scenes stuff could be taken care of. Like,
sure.
Our hands are clean of this. It's still going to be, the headlines are going to read, Daniel Bryan injured in the WWE ring.
Yeah.
And then they're going to bring up his history that he, had a shoulder, neck problems. And then
right.
No matter if the legal side is taken care of and Daniel Bryan and WWE know what, when it part ways and when they know who's at fault, the general public and media, it's not going to look good for WWE, and they don't want that.
Yeah, or he can be one of these guys that the long list of guys where something happens to him relatively still young in his actual life, and now again we watch the list on the news. Here are pro wrestler deaths or serious things that have happened.
Yeah,
to
they don't
them.
want that.
Yeah. So I get it from both sides. Should Brie Bella step in more? She's kind of the wild card in this, right? She's kind of in an odd spot.
I'm sure it's the same thing with CM Punk and AJ Lee.
Right.
AJ stayed in, I think it's
same but different, right? Because CM Punk was like, I'm done.
Yeah, but I don't think they're, I'm sure Brie has an opinion, but when it comes down to the decision, it's between WWE and Daniel Bryan.
She's his wife now.
Yeah, but it's Daniel Bryan. He's not asking, "Oh, Brie, should I, retire?" Like, I'm sure.
I did. I think there was a commercial or something for Total Divas.
Well, that's all scripted.
I know, but they were talking about it there. That's kind of what led me to think about it. In real conversation, do they have that talk? Is Brie in an awkward position?
I don't think so. I think it's just, Daniel Bryan would always, if he can't compete.
But if you're Stephanie and you're Vince's daughter, do you go up to Brie, real sweet little, girl to girl, and be like, hey, could you really talk to Daniel for us, because this is just not good for him?
They're all adults. I'm sure that's handled, and I'm pretty sure it's probably handled through lawyers more than face-to-face, backstage stuff.
Yeah. What do you think he should do?
From what I've heard, he wants to still wrestle. WWE is not going to have that blood on their hands if, by God, he gets seriously injured, he can't walk, or if he gets, paralyzed or something.
It's his neck still, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about.
It's his neck area.
He's had a lot of other injuries.
Yeah. Which all these guys do go with him. They battle through injuries. But when you're talking about the neck and the shoulder and nerves and whatnot and damage.
Is it similar to why Stone Cold hung it up?
Basically. Yeah. And Stone Cold competed after multiple surgeries. A lot of guys get, Tyson Kidd. He is the small percentage of guys who get that injury, that impact, and are able to walk and at least function. He may not be able to wrestle ever again, but he's able to live life comfortably and not be in a wheelchair or paralyzed. If you're asking me, I think, and there's reports that Dave Meltzer is reporting from Wrestling Observer that Daniel Bryan has gone to WB and said, hey, I want to, end the contract so I can go to independent scene, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, other places that he can wrestle and they will allow him to wrestle. Look at Kurt Angle. The one reason why Kurt Angle has not been in WWE is because of his injuries. But with TNA, he is it's a perfect example of what you're talking about. Kurt Angle would not be able to wrestle in WWE because of his injuries. They don't want any kind of problem with Kurt Angle. But with TNA, as long as you're cleared, you can compete is under your own discretion. I'm sure that's what they're saying.
And look, having seen Kurt Angle in person up close now at this point when I was in Miami, I get it from a WWE standpoint, because here's this guy. He still looks, out on the outside, he is in incredible shape. He really is. But you could tell something's going on the inside, because the guy can't turn his head. If he needs to look over to his left or right, he's shifting his entire torso to do that because his neck is in such bad shape. It's
really sad. And one guy that I know, this guy has done a lot more than Kurt Angle or even current guys, but Mick Foley. I've interviewed Mick Foley 5 times, and every single time we've had to pull a chair just for him, and I had to sit, kind of squat or pull a chair for myself because he cannot stand for more than 5 minutes at a time. He's in constant pain. He can't walk at a normal pace. He's very slow. Right. It's sad because we all know for Mick Foley for crashing down from the Hell in the Cell, but geez, he's been doing diving elbows off the apron and doing hardcore matches in Japan for years before that, and that all is now. And when he's on TV now, it's hard to watch the guy walk because it's bad. So
and Daniel Bryan had an entire career before WWE.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those things where it's odd, though, because it's kind of unfortunate. WWE, if they're saying this is best for business because of the PR move, we don't want to get in trouble, and we don't want that on us. But at the same time, they're like, but it's still best for business for us to not end his contract. Well, I mean, should they, out of fairness, be like, look, we're not going to let you wrestle, fine, instead of having under a contract just to get all the merchandising?
Dude, that's what it's all about.
I get it. I mean, that's the nature of the business. But, how much is he? I mean, because we talk about lawsuits in the legal world, it's going to depend. How much is Daniel Bryan getting from all the merchandising? Could Daniel Bryan make more money if he goes to a TNA or Ring of Honor or starts booking his own indie shows? Could he make more money doing that than what he gets from the merchandise? And if he determines that he can, I mean, that's a path probably legally that WWE doesn't want to go down, because how do you, this is one of your most beloved characters in the last 5 to 10 years, right?
Right.
Is that really who you want to be in a court battle with? If we talk about ratings all the time, they're not doing as well. You don't want that perception on you either.
Well, and that's a very good subject, because the money is involved. Royalties checks are involved. Merchandise, they can still, I'm sure, T-shirts are still being sold. People love Daniel Bryan. People love the merch. And just the name Daniel Bryan is, I believe, is trademarked by WWE.
Right.
So
it'd go back to his own name.
Yeah.
Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. So you can go back to that. But if you're Daniel Bryan and you want to wrestle and you're not going to be in WWE and they want to ask for your release, I mean, if WWE doesn't want to, I mean, they can just make him sit and wait until his contract expires and let him go, just in case he can wrestle. If he does get cleared next year and he has, I'm not sure his contract, but a year left on his contract, and if they can squeeze 1 year out of him, and then Daniel Bryan chooses not to renew his contract.
Yeah.
But as far as money, I'm sure Daniel Bryan is pulling close to $1 million a year. I mean, if R-Truth is getting over 6 figures and he has not had the same popularity as Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan has made a lot of money for WWE, and he has that history like you mentioned before,
right?
I'm sure he's getting paid close to almost, if not more, $1 million a year. Could he make that with Ring of Honor? Do they have that money to do that? And he's not really doing anything. I know he wants to wrestle, but how can you turn away possibly cutting your income in half just so you can wrestle, and then possibly be injured, and then just losing that income and then being injured for the rest of your life? Do you want to risk that?
He's a frugal guy. I mean, that's a lot more money that he can put away right now then.
Yeah.
But I get it. He wants to, passion is the wrestling, and he wants to wrestle.
The itch is there.
But that's where Brie Bella needs to step in as his wife and be like, look, long term though, this is going to make us more financially sound. It's going to be okay if anything should ever happen, even outside of wrestling. Yeah. A lot of things could happen in life. Sometimes I think these guys don't see that, right? They're like, I want to wrestle. I don't care about that injury. It's like, but look, you can have all these finances in case something after happens ever. He could still, once he's released from his contract, you're right. I mean, he could still start. He could start booking himself then Ring of Honor, and if you take the money cut, then fine. But at least you've gotten that other year or two, whatever it is he has left, and then he could start doing appearances as well, make appearance fees. A lot of ways he could make money in whether he's wrestling or not with this stuff. I mean, he's not going to retain the rights to Yes, so it's not like he could ever sell another Yes T-shirt, unfortunately.
Right. They can still do the Yes. He can still do the Yes thing, but he can't buy. He's going to lose that Yes.
You won't see Yes T-shirts on pro wrestling tees.
he's going to lose the Daniel Bryan name because he's going to own it.
And I think that's going to be okay because a lot of people already know,
they know.
or knew previously who he was.
Yeah, they know who Daniel Bryan.
And it's not like his name is that different.
And wrapping up this portion of our first segment is it's funny because we are recording here at a 1:30 p.m. on a Monday, and Daniel Bryan could be on Raw tonight. So
could be.
This whole conversation we just had could be null and void if he says he's going back in the ring.
He's going to tell us what he's doing,
or if he is retiring. This conversation could be blown off for nothing, but. It is still fun to talk about because we enjoy Daniel Bryan, the wrestler, and we want to see him do well and not get seriously hurt and not end up in a wheelchair. So, hopefully both parties, WB and Daniel Bryan, agree to something. If it is him staying and competing or separating, parting ways, and I mean, who knows? I mean, could we see, Bryan Danielson at AIW?
Be pretty great.
I know John Thorne would shell out the.
We'll see him March 18th.
If he's going to pay a few $1,000s for Scott Hall to come and not even wrestle and just show up and do autographs, I'm sure John Thorne could probably sell out the place at Mark Carmel and then some to get Bryan Danielson to come back to Cleveland and compete at AIW. So
I think if he does that, he needs something larger than Mount Carmel.
I agree, but you are what you're dealt with. Also, really quick before we move on to our main topic of Lucha Underground, Bull Dempsey just not renewed, his contract not renewed. He's gone from NXT. How long before Bull Dempsey is in AIW making an appearance? A guy that was kind of popular. I think he was supposed to be what Kevin Owens was supposed to be before Owens was signed.
He's much larger than Kevin Owens, though.
Right.
And much less athletic.
But I'm talking about as the probably dominant heel in NXT.
Oh, sure.
He was the heel when he first started. He was the overpowering, menacing heel, the big guy kind of heel, not like muscular Ryback, but a kind of a big bully, kind of bully for Bull. But he turned into a good guy. Just really couldn't find a niche in NXT. He tried that whole bull fit.
People did enjoy that.
A little bit, but
they enjoyed the montages and everything else, but he didn't seem in ring as much.
It seemed like he was gaining more for bull fit. It seemed like he was doing the opposite of what you should be doing.
Well, shout out to the guy who broke this story for me over the internet this weekend. Our friend Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. Who
took a photo, put it on his Instagram with Bull in a T-shirt that says, "I was signed once."
So I'm sure Bull will be making the indie rounds here shortly. And how long before maybe he gets scooped up here by AIW to come?
Maybe you'll see him this week.
You never know. Never know. But Bull Dempsey was released along with other guys that really didn't make an impact on NXT that much. But what they'll do is they won't fire anybody. That's when your contract is not going to be is up, and usually it's a group of guys signing at once, a new class. And with this class, they just didn't renew. So Bull Dempsey is gone from NXT, and that's hey, like I said, making the indie rounds. Speaking of NXT, really quick, Steve, before we wrap the segment up, a guy that has been a guest in the podcast, a guy that will be coming on the show hopefully the next month or two is Johnny Gargano, who's making the indie rounds for NXT. Memphis, Detroit. I think he was in Pittsburgh. He's Tennessee, all over. Nashville, I believe. I think NXT was down there. And with NXT coming to Cleveland early next month, I'm sure he'll be making his NXT debut in Cleveland for the Agora. So hopefully we'll see that happen here in Cleveland. I'm sure he'll get a big reception, and looking forward to that. But kudos to Johnny Gargano for making the tour. And you know what?
You would hope they put him on the show in Cleveland.
Yeah, I would think if they're putting on for Memphis. But, AJ Styles is now with WWE. The Bullet Club, a few members with those guys, going to be making their debuts. Nakamura is going to be with NXT, probably not for long until he makes the main roster. But is the indie pool kind of thin now with NXT signing the top guys? There are some guys, with Ring of Honor, with New Japan that they could go after. But
do you mean will indie shows be not as good? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm talking about will NXT shows be?
Oh, who can they really grab?
That Kevin Owens, everybody knew as Kevin Steen. A guy like Finn from New Japan, everybody knew. Sami Zayn as as his character.
Well, I think.
It's a pool thinning for NXT to grab from.
Temporarily, maybe it's thinning because what happened was that these are the guys that were top names for, near a decade in the indie circuit. WWE largely ignored this world for 10 years. So now they're grabbing all the top guys out of it.
Right.
And just like in anything, you need a little time. Other names will get built up. You'll start to see somebody. A few years from now, what's to say Tracy Williams isn't a hot name?
Right.
We watch him team up with Tyson Dukes all the time, and he's doing great. Maybe they bring in Tyson to do. Maybe they work them as a tag team. Guys like that, because they're making their rounds everywhere. They're a lot of fun to watch. And they have kind of that look that WWE tends to enjoy.
I guess.
And putting them on an NXT, it's. You just need time. It needs to regenerate, I guess.
I guess that's my question is, how long is the turnover from a year of Kevin Owens and Finn and Sami Zayn, that class being the cream of the crop when it comes to the indie scene, how long does it take till NXT, is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? It's been a year since Owens and Finn and Sami, all those guys, kind of were the face of NXT, and now they've moved on. Well, Finn's still there, but he needs probably the same kind of firepower to where you can have NXT Brooklyn, and it's off the charts popular. Is that going to hurt NXT? Not hurt, but is that going to make NXT not maybe as popular as it was in the past year because they have to wait for maybe new guys to come up in the indies?
Yeah, yes, I see what you're saying. It's not going to be because you're not going to have as many already named guys to pull from.
Yes. Oh, so we have breaking news here. This is breaking news.
Oh.
Daniel Bryan just tweeted out literally 14 minutes ago, due to medical reasons, effective immediately, I'm announcing my retirement. Tonight on Raw, I'll have my chance to elaborate.
Oh, man.
This is coming from his official Twitter account. So, obviously this podcast coming out.
You'll already have seen it.
Yeah, but breaking news here. So we should probably dedicate the show to Daniel Bryan now, Steve, since Daniel Bryan has to be officially retired. Now we can open that conversation back up with Daniel Bryan. He's gone. He's retiring from the ring. So that means.
But do they still let him out of the contract?
He can make the same amount of money.
If he retires,
doing appearances,
he's still on their contract then.
It's
right.
Yeah,
he still legally has to.
Yeah, he's still
be under there. He can't go out and wrestle though. He can't. There's probably a non-compete to that.
No, he is retiring, so he probably can't wrestle anywhere.
Well, Ric Flair retired,
but he didn't retire because of
his
neck.
I know. I get it.
It could happen, but how many retirements have we gone through?
But this could also be, look, this is a WWE official account as well. It could be somebody saying, hey, we want you to have your retirement from WWE on WWE. They're not going to have him just tweet it out, you know what I mean, and then not have something. We're going to see the Daniel Bryan parade for a few months here. There was this special Daniel Bryan moment. There was this, there was that. They're going to make money off of him leaving.
Well, yeah, but then they want you to tune in because that's why they put the tweet out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They want you, at 1:15, you find out Daniel Bryan's retiring. He says, tonight on Raw, I have a chance to elaborate. All your Daniel Bryan fans and fans of wrestling, not only for TNA or Lucha or whatever, if you are a Bryan Danielson fan and he says he's retiring, you're going to tune into Raw. This is going to be a huge Raw viewer-wise. So are they going to have him come out probably to start the show?
Yeah.
I'm sure this isn't a storyline. I'm sure this is not.
No, I'm not saying that it's a storyline, but what I'm saying is, WWE and Daniel Bryan have come to an agreement. WWE is not going to allow him to wrestle in a WWE ring ever again. So this doesn't necessarily mean that he is retiring from all of wrestling.
Yeah.
Just means he's retiring from WWE wrestling.
Well,
and so then the question is, are they letting him out of that contract? Is he, there's got to be some sort of non-compete that says you can't go wrestle anywhere else then.
Well, let's find out what he says on Raw tonight, because
there we go.
If he's retiring, I mean, they could have said, I am leaving WWE or something. I mean,
no, but that's what I'm saying. They wouldn't say it. They won't. That's why I believe that there's probably some sort of non-compete. He's still going to be getting his merchandise and his appearance stuff with WWE. He's going to do other things with them. And if it's a year, 2 years, whatever the case may be. You may see him on the indies a couple years from now.
Yeah.
But it sounds like to me he is retiring, quote unquote, with WWE. He's not going to be able to wrestle with them. But then that also means there's some sort of non-compete. If he was just leaving WWE, you'd have like what you had with Rey Mysterio. We never had a retirement announcement from Rey Mysterio with WWE. They never, they cut ties with him, but it was all kind of very quiet. And then he's still able to wrestle. WWE is smart. They want to capitalize on this. There's nothing financially for them to get out of saying, we've cut ties with Daniel Bryan or Daniel Bryan's leaving. There's more of a celebration, more money out of it than when he does to retiring. Think about this. Now they can immediately make a Daniel Bryan DVD.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
sure, it's in the works. It's in conversation right now.
Well,
sure.
I'm sure that stuff's been in the works, before. I mean, he had the book, which we didn't get him for an interview, which kind of pisses me off. But
I mean, we'll get one now.
He has the time probably coming up, and I'm sure that there's more to what's going on. It's and I'm reading some comments on Reddit, in Squared Circle, and also on Twitter. Just as we're talking here, because this news broke out during the recording of this podcast, everybody's hoping this is a work. Everybody's hoping that this is just a storyline, that he comes out. Is this a Mark Henry kind of retirement?
Does this lead to one more match at WrestleMania?
Yeah, but like I said, it's going to make you watch Raw, which is what they want you to do. People who have said this product has stunk for the past couple years and then haven't been a fan because Daniel Bryan's been out, you're going to watch Raw to see what happens.
Let me ask you this. Now, I know at Fastlane there's already a planned number one contenders match.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of already ruins this. But if you were going to create such a ruse, would you not have Daniel Bryan sitting in the ring, retiring, saying he's going to retire, I can't compete anymore, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, thank you, Daniel. Or people trying to chant one more match, whatever.
You were crying, yeah.
And Triple H and Stephanie come down.
Okay.
Oh, we always knew you were a B player, just like we always said. And there's Triple H with the belt that Daniel Bryan had to surrender at one point.
Yeah.
And never really got a rematch back for. Daniel Bryan, Triple H, WrestleMania 32.
No, it's not going to. No.
I know it's not, but creatively, if you want to really generate that pop and that buzz, and if this were to be a work, would that not be the greatest full circle kind of work to end this story and everything? Yeah, Daniel Bryan comes back as the hero to put the end to the Authority.
Do you have Daniel Bryan winning then and
have him
to compete? I
don't know.
That's the thing. If he can't compete, why would you put the title on him on the biggest stage and then have him just give it up again? The fourth title he's given up?
And that's the problem. Is he has to
you don't want to do that. And then, I mean, Scott Hall put a tweet out. Did you see Scott Hall's tweet about a possible main event, WrestleMania? If he were to book it?
No.
You have Roman Reigns versus Triple H.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And you have Triple H with, Vince in his corner. And then you have Roman Reigns with The Rock in his corner.
Right.
And Daniel Bryan, special guest referee.
Could do that.
I mean, Daniel Bryan can't
for Daniel
wrestle.
Bryan to put one over, still on the Authority.
He is hired as and who knows, maybe Linda McMahon comes out and says,
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan is, she is she still have stock? Is she, or did she cut that stock when she ran for senator?
She had to get rid of her.
So she's not officially like a power in WWE.
I mean, she could have gotten it back at this point because that was already some time ago.
But so I mean, that could be Scott Hall that would be.
By the way, I played WWE's 2K16 this weekend.
Yeah,
you know who I was so excited was on that game?
Bray Wyatt.
No.
Who?
Come on. A McMahon family member.
Oh, Shane.
Yeah.
Shane, he had a. Did you beat the Attitude Era thing with?
No, I was playing with multiple people.
Okay, because you have to win. You have to win a match with Stone Cold to get Shane. Or something.
I really enjoyed the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's fun.
I was a little upset Shane O'Mac was only rated an 85 or something like that.
I mean, that's pretty good for a guy that's not a wrestler.
I mean, but he's Shane O'Mac.
Pretty good. It's the video game is okay. I mean, it's kind of
it's fun. It's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. I like Vader though. Vader's WWE champion.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, there were 4 of us hanging out, just drinking, little guys' night. A lot of fun to play.
Yeah,
I will say that 4 people, you get the Royal Rumble or anything else going. That it is fun in that manner.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. So back to this whole talent pool indie circuit thing.
Right.
I think right now what you're going to start to see is more of. So WWE grabbed these big indie names and threw them in NXT so that you'd have an NXT pop, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
But now I think this is their time to generate the guys. They didn't stop grabbing and recruiting their own talent that was unknown, and they were developing, like a Braun Strowman.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to start to see more of those guys in NXT. And I don't know. Maybe they make names for themselves. Maybe they do, which will give time for the indie circuit to regenerate these people.
Yeah.
But now with it, I don't know that anybody's going to come from TNA, but TNA, Ring of Honor is still going to help you create more buzz and more names. New Japan's not going to stop. They're going to still continue more names. And even Lucha, you're going to have people from there that you could grab based on quality matches. Maybe we see Ricochet in a WWE or NXT ring in the next year or two.
Yeah. I mean, you could, but I think it's more about...
Yeah, that's just that's one of the top names out there that I still think about.
I think for NXT, though, is not... Just because you're NXT does not mean you're going to be on the main roster.
Correct.
Guys like Mojo Rawley probably won't make the main roster.
No, but I was thinking about keeping an NXT buzz because people still care about the matches there. I mean, one of my favorites that we saw out in San Jose, Rich Swann, is now on NXT.
Yeah.
With his
doesn't mean he's gonna be main roster.
He's not singing all night long, but he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still, as we were questioning, is NXT going to lose its luster?
Yeah.
I think as these bigger names go to the main roster, NXT is still going to be an indie superstar show, so to speak.
Yeah, they'll still pluck the, when someone catches fire or their internet darling and they're not tied in a contract with, Ring of Honor, New Japan, or, even out in LA, they will scoop them up and put them in NXT just so they can, kind of not bind their competition, but give them a chance. And some guys, like I said, NXT doesn't mean you're being the main roster. Seeing guys like Bull Dempsey, they will milk you and see if you catch fire. And if you do, you make the main roster. And even if you make the main roster, I mean, that's the whole argument from the other day. Like guys like Finn, who is by himself, would he translate to the main roster? Look at Tyler Breeze. I mean, a guy that was popular in NXT, the gimmick, but now he's just another low mid-carder with WWE now.
Yeah, not doing very much.
It's not. It doesn't always translate. So if you're Finn, you're making the big bucks. You stay in one spot, Orlando. You travel a little bit on the weekend. You're the champion. You're the big dog. You're still making bank more than you would in the independent scene. Why would you jeopardize your career and be known for a failure in WWE when you can sit in Orlando at NXT and be the man?
I agree.
So I
think that's what you do.
And if you are a up and coming indie star and they want you in NXT, you're guaranteed so much amount of money. You can go to Orlando. They can take a chance on you. You can make bank. You're NXT, and if it doesn't work out, you go back to the indie scene, and now you are a hot commodity in the indie scene because you were officially NXT.
Yeah, I think 2016 is maybe your quote-unquote down NXT year, and it'll regenerate itself. You need time for guys to make their name on the indie scene.
Right. Back to Daniel Bryan. It's now catching fire on the internet. Obviously before, but now even people are more commenting and tweeting. It's on the WWE website. Breaking news: Daniel Bryan announced his retirement. Daniel Bryan announced today on Twitter that effective immediately he would be retiring from in-ring competition. The former WWE World Heavyweight Champion announced that he will elaborate on Raw tonight. So he is retiring from in-ring competition. Is that just from WWE, or is that from for forever? I guess we will find out tonight. I mean, it's going to be emotional. A lot of fans. It's going to be like the Edge. Edge is a guy that when he retired, he's an emotional guy. He teared up. Fans were crying in the crowd. They're going to milk it. I mean, not milk it. That's a bad word because I feel like that's the wrong word.
They're going to give it the time. They're going to give it its due time.
Perfect. They're going to give it the time that it deserves.
They're not going to say, "Hey, this is a 7-minute segment."
Yeah. It hopefully opens the show and we get kind of like what's officially going to go down. And if this is work,
maybe maybe all the boys come out from the back, right? Give him the ovation on top of the stage while he's in the ring at some point.
What if this is all just part of a storyline and this is WrestleMania season, and this is just Daniel Bryan has been cleared, and this is the route they're going to go on. This is the route they're going to go with announcing a Daniel Bryan match at WrestleMania. Like you said, Triple H, okay, but what if it was not like a main? Obviously going to be a main event, but it's he wrestling somebody at WrestleMania. This is all a big ruse.
AJ Styles.
I wouldn't mind seeing.
God, how good would that match? I don't know what kind of wrestling shape Daniel Bryan's in.
Well, he is I'm sure he's in good wrestling shape.
But I mean, has he been going through movesets and everything? Is what I'm wondering.
I'm sure it wouldn't take.
Has he been in a ring?
To get ready.
I mean. Daniel Bryan, you talking about indie dream matchups and things like that, or Ring of Honor or anything.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles would be an incredible match.
Yeah. I'd rather see AJ versus Kevin Owens, but that's just
me. That would mean more moving forward.
I wouldn't say AJ Styles is worthy of a main event WrestleMania as of right now. He's going to be top mid-card guy, but to be billed as like, one of the top 3 main events that Daniel Bryan should be in, I think it's a little too soon to
listen, he gets some of the biggest pops on the roster right now.
Of course, because he's new.
But people, not just because he's new, but because people know his story and they know and they respect it.
It's new. It's just like...
Look, Kevin Owens got shoved right in. Everybody knew Kevin Owens, and he got on that hot streak, and they rolled with it.
But it's just like the first match of the night. The first match of the night is always the hottest. The crowd's always into the first match of the night because it's new. It's a new show. It's a new.
Oh, you're poo-pooing AJ Styles too much with his in-ring matches and everything. I will tell you, listen, not great on the mic. He's not.
No.
But his matches and everything, you will see this guy put on some of the best matches in WWE. He did it in TNA. He's done it in Ring of Honor. Did it in New Japan. Guy's been all over, and it's no mistake that he's ended up here. This is taken too long. I mean, I've said it the whole last year. It's like, this is the guy that you bring in that would make the difference.
Yeah. I retweeted some stuff out from Daniel Bryan on my personal Twitter account, @GlenmoreCLE, and a person responded, any chance this is a work? Now, Steve, my question for you is, give me the percentage. If this is real and a work, what is your percentage? Is it 50-50? Is it 75% real, 25% work? I'm going to go... Just because what have I heard, I'm going to go 90% real, 10% work.
My answer, I think, wants to be both because of the timing.
Okay.
Like you said with Scott Hall's idea.
Yeah.
So I think that it is real, but I think they create a work with it that ties him into WrestleMania somehow in some capacity, whether it's, like you said, guest referee.
So what's your percentage?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's... How do I declare a percentage for both?
Like I'm saying it's more 90%.
You think it's more like just totally fake and not a work whatsoever?
No, I'm saying 90% it's real. Like he's legit.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. 90% legit retiring.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a work to his announcement.
Yeah.
I still think that there's like a 30% work chance in there. Not of him wrestling, though. Just of him being involved.
And like I said, we're going to have to wait and see for tonight and see what happens.
You'll know by the time you're listening to this, folks. So don't yell at us.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, hopefully this isn't posted tomorrow because then this would be not relevant. And knowing how our posting schedules are.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Delay.
Sometimes there's a major delay. But still, it's, I guess, next week we can hit on it, when we officially find out. I hope it's, a work, and I hope it's leading up to some kind of match. But then again, they could have had him come out tonight and do something, get involved in the match or something, be announced for a match. But to make it that big of a deal, TMZ Sports is going to pick this up. All the news outlets are going to write their stories that, hey, he's retiring. It's and then to have him come out to be a storyline, I think would be counterproductive to WWE. Because then stuff like this, where it's pretty serious with the injury, what's the line when it comes to quote-unquote breaking news for WWE when a guy is seriously injured? It's when do you stop believing for a serious nature for an injury, and when do you, don't fall for it and say, we'll just, we don't care until we see it on TV if it's for real. So a lot of things can happen, tonight, and hopefully Bryan can still, wrestle in the ring, for indies or whatever's going to happen. But I want to say 99% sure Bryan will be involved at WrestleMania somehow, some way. He will be at WrestleMania, not either competing, if this is a work, or referee, or in someone's corner or something. Something's going to happen with Bryan, because he is still a draw. He still has a lot of merch, and people love him, so he would be good for WrestleMania. But if it is an in-ring retirement, and this is for real, we're not going to see Daniel Bryan in the ring ever again. It's sad, man, because he still has a lot of years left. He was at the top of the game, in indie scene and WWE, and he's still one of the more popular superstars. So it's sad to see him go. But then again, Steve, it's good to see him, if this is for real, this end on his terms and not ending up in a wheelchair or
absolutely
death. It's you don't want to see that anybody happen to a bud, but when you have an injury like that to where it does create some kind of possibility that you can seriously alter your life physically for the for a wheelchair or getting hurt seriously, it's good that didn't happen, and Daniel Bryan can kind of save his body for years to come. And I know he's in excellent shape. He eats right. He's very, very conscious of what's going on about his body and working out and whatnot. But still, it's we don't want to see Daniel Bryan in the ring laying limp because of him coming back just because he loves wrestling. You got to be smart about it.
No, yeah, you don't want to. That's like we've said this entire show. You don't want to. You don't want to see a situation even worse than what Edge went through. Yeah. Edge was actually cleared to wrestle that match, and then something happened during it.
Yeah.
And you don't want that to be the case where something happens, but he doesn't get to, Edge is very lucky to have been able to walk out the next night.
Yeah.
And retire. You don't want to see it happen in a match where, look, now this match has to stop.
Before we wrap this up, and we're going to save our Lucha Underground. Are we ever going to get to that show?
Well, we had breaking news this time.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan is way more important than Lucha Underground right now. How big the pop is going to be for Daniel Bryan tonight in Raw? In his hometown?
In his home state there. It's going to be big. Because remember, this is where they were in Seattle when, right before, it was John Cena, Randy Orton. Mm-hmm. And the fans pretty much hijacked that show, chanting for Daniel Bryan and saying, yes, yes, and John Cena had him introduce himself. So I remember that night.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be probably pretty similar.
Some of the dirt sheets, this reading, they're putting the kind of like a disclaimer saying, well, this could be a work, but Daniel Bryan just announced his retirement on Twitter. They're even, people that, report on this and been around the business for years, even before, you and I started watching, there's always a possibility that this is could be a work, and, this could lead to something for WrestleMania. Hey, he could be cleared, and this is the route they're going to go with.
Yeah.
And this is going to spark, hey, if I told you Daniel Bryan was going to be on Raw tonight, all right, he's going to be on Raw. That's all they're saying. And that's all they said. And would you, fans will still kind of watch it, or they can catch it, tomorrow online, or they just wouldn't be probably intrigued as much as someone saying, hey, I'm telling you tonight, Daniel Bryan retiring from WWE. He's retiring from in-ring competition. You're going to tune in over this Daniel Bryan making an appearance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So they're going to get major numbers tonight. This is a huge show for them to kind of build WrestleMania, I think, for a bigger audience. And, hey, if this is a work, woo, they got me hook, line, and sinker, man. This is using social media to their advantage.
Yeah.
But so many times that social media kind of ruins wrestling for us, this could be something WWE works to their advantage. And either way, we can celebrate the career of Daniel Bryan, or we can celebrate Daniel Bryan back in the ring. So either way, it's, going to be a celebration, bitches.
He gets one match.
One more match. Christian. They both get their one more match.
Okay, there you go. I mean, I wouldn't know who to...
One final match forever?
Yeah, in WWE.
Okay, so this is his final match.
Yep.
He's not going to indie scene. He's not doing indie. This is his
No.
final match.
For WWE.
Okay.
If we say, hey, this is like a temporary work, right? Like he's going to wrestle one more time and then it's going to be done.
I would say triple threat match.
Okay.
Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn.
All right, that's what you want to see then at WrestleMania?
That's what you would build as probably an indie main event with these guys who have battled for years before. Maybe even throw Tyler Black / Seth Rollins in that match.
But he's not going to be there because he's injured. I mean, like realistically, if this was
you're asking me.
No. I'm asking you like if realistically this was a work and it leads to just one more match at WrestleMania.
John Cena versus. I'm just kidding. Absolutely not.
That could be the case.
I would say Owens versus Zayn versus Daniel Bryan. That would be probably an epic. All the spots you could probably.
How would you create that story going into WrestleMania?
It's not about storyline. It's about one more match for Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Although the beauty of you throwing Kevin Owens is in there is that you don't need a preempted story because Kevin Owens is the ass heel who will just come out in the middle of it, just steal the spotlight.
Yeah, like I will end. It's not your final match because you're leaving. This is your final match because I'm going to end your career.
Yeah.
And then with Sammy there, Sammy has history with Kevin Owens. Just the spots you can have in that match, the story you can tell.
Yeah.
And you can have Owens. Have him try to end his Daniel Bryan's career. You have Sami Zayn who probably will respect Daniel Bryan, and you have that moment of shaking hands after the match or something, and Owens is beat down. I mean, I would love to see that match realistically, and so what would your match be? His final WB match.
I mean, I think that's the way there's what I want and what I think that you could do. I mean, I think that if it's WWE, they maybe put Dean Ambrose in there for the IC title, and it's like, oh, you have your one more chance to win the title back.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. Again, I think from a storytelling standpoint, to somehow pit him against Triple H to close that chapter book, and it's Daniel Bryan trying to screw over the Authority.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. But personally, I think the best match that I would see is AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan.
Well, funny you say that. Literally a minute ago on the Reddit page for Daniel Bryan, someone says, hoping this is a joke like Mark Henry retirement, I want AJ Styles to come out, shake his hand, and then boom, Bryan with the head kick, and then Bryan versus Styles WrestleMania. I mean, Daniel Bryan would be the heel. Like, you gotta. I don't like when two faces square off against each other. It has to be
in a scenario like this.
But what do you do for it? This would be like from WrestleMania.
This would be like, well, and that's why you have to do it in that manner. That it's, hey, this is just a one-off for one match. Let's give these people something great. In the same manner in which you saw Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair going one more. Two faces going into that.
That's Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, though. Come on.
No, I get that,
yeah.
but I'm talking about two faces going into it with not much. There's nothing going on moving forward.
Yeah,
I think you just gotta go that way. I think it still ends up being a great match.
A lot of speculation what's going to happen tonight on Raw. Hopefully, this show is up before Raw goes on the air at 8:00. We're ending here around 2.
If not, we'll have more answers next week.
Yes, we'll talk about it next week. What actually happens, and if it is a Daniel Bryan retirement, and if this is for real, and this is not a work, because we'll find out tonight. We'll talk about that as well. But hey, we could be possibly talking about some kind of Daniel Bryan build up for WrestleMania, and or we can be talking about even more of our memories. So, still kind of salty we didn't get Daniel Bryan on the show last year. We did get a book. We got some books for free, but other than that, was hoping to get D-Bry. Maybe we'll get him on. He has more time to do it. Maybe do another book tour or something with his book.
Yeah, maybe
get him on. Never know. But still. All right, this is AwesomeWrestlingShow.com is the site. Head over there. A new look to the site. It's finally finished. Just some minor tweaks here and there, but all our shows are posted. We're posting some link roundups, some news stories. We're going to be tweeting those out and on our Facebook page as well. This is Awesome Wrestling Show. The links are on the website. You guys can find out there. And then TIA Wrestling on Twitter. But this is AwesomeWrestlingShow.com is the hub for the show. If you want to sponsor with us, the link for contact is on there as well. Looking for some sponsors to partner with us when it comes to WrestleMania season. A lot of big stuff coming. A lot of interviews coming with AIW. Steve, you want to plug AIW this week?
AIW is going to be great this week. Still tickets available at Mount St. Carmel. Great roster. We've got an interesting 6-man match. Is that what I told you it was there? I can tell you the championship match, Ethan Page, Josh Prohibition, that's going to go crazy. These two going back at it again. Tag team titles being defended again. Hot Sauce Entertainment, Tracy Williams, Tyson Dukes taking on To Infinity and Beyond. Another, always a fun match right there. The ladies, Heidi Lovelace and Veda Scott for the title. And then, I told you the interesting concept, Eddie Kingston, Britt Baker, Space Monkey, Brian Carson, Josh Singh, and our favorite, Frankie Flynn.
Yeah.
All involved in one match. Eddie in that match with those people, someone's going to get hurt.
It's going to be a good one.
It will be, and someone will get hurt. Facade is back. A lot of people are big fan favorites of him. He'll be in a match with Lewis Linden, Cloudy, and DJ Z. Both former guests of this show, Tim Dunst and Brian Myers.
Yes.
Squaring off. So a whole huge roster. Of course, the big name on this, we have Tracy Smothers, Bunkhouse Buck back again, team with Jock Sampson, and they will be taking on the team of Cole Cabana, Marion Fontaine, Dick Justice with Missy Hyatt in their corner.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
And
oh, yeah? Are we back in the 80s, dude? Come on.
I don't know. And, of course, Colonel Robert Parker in the corner.
Oh, yes. Tennessee Lee.
Of Bunkhouse Buck and Tracy Smothers. It's going to be interesting to see him and Missy on the outside of the ring. Something's going to happen there.
Something's going to happen. Yeah, that's going to be nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Tennessee Lee being back here. And we'll be set up. Interviews coming your way. We have Tyson Duke scheduled. Also, Heidi Lovelace from Ring of Honor, indie scene, as well, going to be on the show. So look for those interviews in the coming weeks.
Yeah, a few more matches in there that I didn't notice, but check it out at arwrestling.com. You can see the whole lineup.
So we will be there on Friday. Say hi to us if you do see us. And we will be interviewing a ton of people in the coming months. We have Fastlane coming up here in Cleveland.
Life in the Fastlane.
We have NXT, when we have WrestleMania, and a few other AIW shows. So, like I said, wrestling is hot here in Cleveland, and we'll be covering it for you. This is Awesome Wrestling Show. Head over to the website. This is AwesomeWrestlingShow.com. That is our hub for the show. We're posting news there. We're going to be posting a lot more links on our Twitter page at TIA Wrestling, and also Facebook. This is Awesome Wrestling Show on Facebook. We'll talk to you guys next week. Enjoy Raw tonight. Hopefully it's not a tearjerker with Daniel Bryan, possibly. It's going to be emotional because D-Bry, one of the favorites in WWE.
I'm already getting misty-eyed.
Whew. It's going to be a hell of a night. Enjoy it, and we'll talk to you guys next week.